I'm thrilled to be diving into some fascinating tales of everyday life and the often blurred lines between right and wrong. Join me as we explore the world of Amethyst, where real people share their stories of questionable behavior, moral dilemmas, and the age-old question, was I the asshole? Am I the butthole for telling my sister her baby isn't a real baby? I, 26 female, got engaged to my fiancé on January 1st. I was very excited to share with my family, of course, and everyone congratulated me and my fiancé. I sent a picture of my ring to my family group chat, as well as my Instagram, and everyone has been commenting on the fact AI got a very big diamond. My diamond is a lab-grown diamond that is just under 5x. I specifically asked for a lab diamond as I believe they're more ethical, as you never know if a mine diamond is a blood diamond. My sister, 31 female, was very excited for me, but as soon as I showed her my ring, her mood changed, and she was telling me that it was too flashy, and that it's not practical, and that it's too trendy and not timeless. My ring is a pear-shaped solitaire ring with a Marquise band, and I love it. My sister then told me that there was no way that my fiancé could afford my ring. True, if it was a mine diamond, it would be 10x the price. And my fiancé is a second-year resident, and that I should test to see if it's a real diamond. I replied that since it's a lab diamond, it was a lot less expensive. She then proceeded to tell me how lab diamonds aren't real diamonds, and since they're made in a lab, it doesn't hold the same sentimental value. My sister's ring is a small onyx mine diamond, and it's beautiful. I never said anything bad about her ring, and it suits her. I tried to laugh it off, and I told her that I asked for a lab diamond, and that I don't want a mine diamond. When I said that, she started yelling at me that it wasn't even a real diamond in the first place, and that it was grown in a lab, not the ground. That's when said by her logic, my niece wasn't a real baby then, because she was an IVF baby, and grown in a lab too. My sister and her husband had a lot of issues conceiving, as my sister had some complications with endometriosis. Their IVF journey was really tough, and they had multiple rounds and attempts, and one miscarriage, but finally got lucky and had my very healthy niece last year. I know my sister had a hard time conceiving. That was kind of the point I was making. My niece started in a lab, but she has beautiful meaning behind her life too. When I made the comment that my niece wasn't a real baby because she was an IVF baby, my sister started crying over the phone. Her husband then called me and berated me and told me I was insensitive and couldn't understand the depths of her emotional turmoil, and that I shouldn't have started a fight over a ring. He even said I was a beast. I have endometriosis too. My mom says it's not a big deal, but I should let my sister cool off. I usually babysit my niece pretty often, but my sister hasn't been answering my calls for a week. My fiancé says although I probably shouldn't have said that, I was justified. I didn't mean it seriously. I know my niece is a real baby, and I adore her and spoil her all the time. Am I the asshole? Now let's check out some of the comments on this post. Esh. Sister is ta for being so transparently jealous. And you are absolutely ta for using your sister conception issues to try and score points in a sibling argument. Oh, and your mum is also ta for thinking that isn't a big deal. I feel sorry for your dad, I truly do. Naelte wasn't trying to score points. She was illustrating why her sister's logic is foolish, and they shouldn't be fighting. It wasn't some random dig to win a squabble. Her sister is trash, and decided this was a massive blow to her ego, because she wanted to fight and harm OO. But O had logic and calmness on her side, so her sister didn't affect her. It's fine, so is the mom. Edit. I'll address the replies here from now on. It's astounding how many people replying don't understand OA. Was making the point the child is real, much like the diamond, so they shouldn't be fighting because it's dumb. And the real reason the sister is so angry is because she cannot comprehend a universe where it's not a competition, so is devastated away. One in her eyes. I can only assume these people replying are very insecure with low emotional intelligence, and believe that if a topic is personal to them, it automatically means it's an attack without caring about the content within it. Yeah, I have an IVF kid after years of painful infertility, and I think OPS logic is spot on. She was saying that her sister's reasoning is deeply flawed, not that the baby isn't real. FS. Anyway. Yeah. It would have been better for OP to say something like, "Your concern is noted, how about the cold snap we're having?" But I think this is deep into not the butthole territory. I think engagement rings are archaic stupidity, and diamonds are just sparkly overrated carbon. But when someone excitedly shows me theirs, you know what I do? I say how pretty it is, and wish them happiness, because who cares what I think, the moment is about them. You are very sensible, and am a diamond lover. I just understand and respect your opinion. I'm also very happy for you having your baby. I will not spend a lot of mine on jewelry. I lost a diamond earring, and the diamond fell out of my engagement ring. I won't spend a lot of money on real gemstones when a cheaper copy will do. If I lose it or it gets stolen, I won't be out of a lot of money. I'd rather spend that on something. A girl I worked with lost the diamond out of her ring and was devastated. And there was just nothing to do but replace it. Sure scared me away from expensive jewelry. You just have to get them checked frequently. Lots of jewelry stores will check your settings to make sure everything is secure, and clean the jewelry for free if you ask. I do it with my engagement ring and wedding band several times a year. Good idea. If I had it checked, it may never have fallen out. But that pretty much convinced me to not spend a lot of money on jewelry. Especially when there's so many costume pieces out there that are beautiful. I have to credit my husband. He bought a warranty for a tennis bracelet he got me years ago. But it was only valid if I got the bracelet checked every 6 months. Personally, I wouldn't recommend a warranty because it's so easy to miss checkups, but it did get me in the habit of getting my rings checked if I was already at the mall. Warranties always seem to have expired right before the problem. Also, over the course of a lifetime, you may have paid more than the piece is worth. There's tons of lovely costume pieces I won't cry over if I drop, lose, scratch, break, or am otherwise careless with. Same. 12 years battling infertility to get our miracle son in 2020, and that line of logic is spot on. How something was created doesn't define its worth. I mean, financially, of course, is an entirely different situation. Honestly, I don't know why she even cares about your ring at all. She doesn't have to wear it. You love it. The end. She honestly sounds pretty dramatic. She needs to be the center of attention. I personally could care less what people think about my undergoing IVF to have my son. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure in my life, but I got my child out of it, and that's all that matters. He's here. He's amazing. He's my focus, not anyone else's opinion. I think sister is jealous of the size of the ring, and saying hers is real, better, because it was mined instead of lab-grown, is a way to rationalize things so she feels superior to a competition for sister. I wouldn't be surprised if this is how sister is about all things between her and OA. OP's sister is out here like it's not real, because human suffering and exploitation wasn't involved. De Beers laughing their asses off after basically creating an entire industry through propaganda. That part. My grandmother's engagement ring was a sapphire. And now for the next story. Am I the butthole if I leave my BF? Because of seemingly trivial things. Recently, my boyfriend got upset because I went to a carnival with my workmates after our rehearsal for an upcoming festival, saying, "When I asked you to go with me, you refused, but when others ask, you go." I turned him down when he initially invited me because I dislike crowded spaces, and had explained this to him. I also knew he'd likely bring his autistic nephew, who often insists on tagging along, even during personal moments. Babysitting him in a crowded environment seemed risky, and I didn't want to be in that position again. It's not that I don't care about his nephew. I've babysat him multiple times before, but it's emotionally and physically draining, especially when his family doesn't provide proper care given his condition. When I tried to explain this to my boyfriend, he dismissed my concerns and kept nagging. I eventually brought up past situations where he'd been inconsiderate of my feelings, including one where he completely disregarded plans I had made for us. When I expressed my frustration, he sent messages, "What do you expect me to do? She's my mom, the one who put me through school. Do you expect me to set her aside?" His assumption that I'm telling him to cast aside his mom hurts, when I just pointed out he should not invite me if he wasn't sure of things. He also bought me a sweater that didn't match my style, even though I've told him how picky I am. He admitted he couldn't find my favorite color and settled for another option, but refused to swap sweaters with me despite my adjusting for him in the past. Before his trip, I specifically told him not to buy me anything unless it was food, yet he brought me my favorite snacks that were missing pieces because someone likely his family helped themselves to it. What's more, my boyfriend seems overly burdened by his family's demands. He frequently babysits his nephew and handles chores at the expense of his own goals. Has missed filing for exams and even failed others because of these responsibilities. I've tried to help by staying over and encouraging him to review, but his family's expectations remain overwhelming. While I care about his nephew, I'm worried about the long-term implications. I don't want to feel obligated to take on this responsibility every time we go out. I also don't want my future children to feel neglected, as I experienced that growing up. After bringing up these issues, my BF shut me down and deactivated I couldn't reply, making me feel like my concerns didn't matter. I've decided not to respond anymore, and consider us done. I'm tired of being disregarded and feeling like I'm not a priority. Am I the butthole if I leave him because of these seemingly trivial things? And now for the next story. Am I the butthole for kicking my Mill and Bill out of our driveway? They have been living in a car here for a month. We had a terrible snowstorm hit here last month. I had heard from some of the other family members that my Mill was staying in a car with my Bill, her son. On Christmas Day, we told them to meet us at a nice restaurant for Christmas dinner. What I saw was pitiful. They were both skin and bones. I told them they could hook a big heater up to their car and stay in our driveway until the storm passed. It has well passed and they are still here, and we're cooking every meal for them, which has put us in a financial strain. My Bill has been on drugs for a while and can't hold down a job because of it. Since my Mill has stayed with him, she's also doing heavier drugs, and her mental health is declining. She lost her husband 2 years ago, and since then is losing her mind. She will talk about people stealing her name on Facebook and framing her to drag her to hell. She's always saying stuff like this. My Bill leaves a mess in the driveway. The neighbors have mentioned it to me. He also revs up his car and the neighbors have complained. My Mill is waiting on a big check, and has been for a year, but I fear that has already been spent on drugs. Everyone in the family has asked her to stay inside in a room, and she wants to live out in the car with her youngest son, and the poor dog he keeps in there. The dog has pooped in the car. My husband feels like they are his responsibility since his dad passed away. I told him he needed to give them tough love. I told him to give them money for a hotel for a week since he finally found a job at a restaurant, and that they couldn't come back. My husband says I don't have a big heart like him, because I've never been homeless, and he has. I feel like we need to push them out so that forces them to get their life together. I'm torn because my Mill needs to be in a mental hospital, but she would never forgive us if we went that route. Am I the butthole for kicking them out of here? Side note, we've tried letting the Bill stay in the guest room in here, and he steals stuff and leaves the house a mess. Now let's check out some of the comments on this post. I'd go to the authorities and let them handle it. Before my neighbors did it for me. Not the butthole. Her husband needs to truly listen to her, and she needs to firmly tell him to stop enabling their behavior. You've likely heard the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. It means that when people face a problem, they're only driven to create their own solutions if they've exhausted every other resource or hit rock bottom. Her husband isn't allowing that to happen. Right now, her husband is trying to ease his own guilt about the situation they're in. Before he died, maybe his father asked him to always take care of them, or to be responsible for your mom and your brother, and if he did do that, then shame on him. In continuing to enable them, he may be absolving some of his guilt, but is certainly not helping them. In fact, he's unintentionally hurting them. What he's doing is far more harm than good. By providing them with a safety net, or a soft place to land, he's keeping them in a cycle of dependency-codependency. Without facing the actual consequences of their choices' actions, they have no reason to change. No reason to get better, or move forward with their lives. Your husband needs to understand that by enabling them, he becomes the one who's holding them back. The hard, painful truth is that sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is let people face the reality of their situation. It's the only way they'll find the drive to move forward. If you think living in a car with your son and his dog with a heater so you don't freeze to death is enabling, there isn't much lower to go. Because they are both heavily using drugs, they won't pull their life together. Needs them to leave, but maybe help them find somewhere. This is such a terrible, terrible situation for the family, and I Don't honestly see any way they're getting out of it. You are almost certainly in violation of a city code that prohibits people living the way your Mill and Bill are living, which means that you are subject to being fined, perhaps daily, for allowing it. Call your city or county government and ask. There may be a code enforcement officer that will come and tell them to move for you. Or just show your husband the code and ask if wants to pay a fine to let them live in your driveway. Either way, get them out before something bad happens. You have an AITA. Hell no, you are not in the brown zone. You can't have grown-ass adults that are drug addicts living in your home, and you damn sure can't have them living in your driveway. Who has a dog living in car? Addicts that may not be above stealing from your family, OP. They prey on people with big hearts like your husband. Or above stealing from the neighbors. Like and subscribe for more awesome daily Reddit content. And don't forget to hit the bell to get notified when I upload new videos.